Hey guys, welcome back to the Podcast Strikes Back. My name is George and you're listening to our review of Life. And I'm joined by my boys once again, Connor.
Hello.
Benny.
Hello. Don't steal my hellos.
Busy week, guys. Lots of movies, and this one was fun.
I don't know if I'd call it fun.
This one was harrowing, George.
Fun is not the word I'd use for this.
Fun in the aspect of I love a horror film in the cinema that keeps the intensity up.
Yeah.
The thrill ride of this film, that's what I found fun.
What is this movie, George? Everyone I talked to the other day, I said, I'm going to see Life. And I work in a cinema. Everyone I talked to who worked there was like, what's that? No, this is under the radar, this movie.
Strange choice of name, especially. David Attenborough's Life.
I would have loved to see David Attenborough up there. This movie for me was exceptional. I loved this film. The biggest criticism people have had is that it's a trope. You can't really do much with the space horror, confined space genre. Screw them. This was awesome. I don't need it. I don't need kind of like new conventions on it. I just need it to be, executed well.
It was well put together. This is a well-directed film. I don't really know anything about this guy. But it was amazing how casually this movie was just in space the entire time, anti-gravity all the way through. When Gravity did it, it was just everyone was talking about it nonstop. But this movie just does it like nothing. I feel like if this had come out before Gravity, people would be talking about it maybe.
Yeah, I definitely agree that this film, you're seeing a cross between Gravity and Alien, and you're not seeing anything particularly new.
No.
But the direction, the intensity, the way he shapes the scenes up, and the tension keeps on rising. I was really impressed with his ability to do that in this film. I think it's Daniel Espinosa, the director.
I agree.
Do you know what I found about this film that, and I was thinking about this last night, was its strongest suit, for me at least, was within the first 10 minutes, I liked all the characters. Like, at that point, I couldn't pick who was going to die. Like, who are they going to shuffle off? The presence of two leading men kind of gave it that kind of extra spice as well.
There was an interesting choice. I feel like you very quickly can think of the one or two ways that could go, and it's probably going to be one of those, but it does make you think when you go in there, like, why is Jake Gyllenhaal and Ryan Reynolds both in this movie?
Yeah. But yeah, so like in the first 10, 15 minutes, just the way that they introduced the characters, the interactions that they had, the fact that they took time to introduce the characters before they got into the kind of the more horror aspect of the film, just for me made every step of the film after that a little bit more impactful. So if you lose a character, you feel it. It means something to you.
I don't think these characters were particularly good.
Really?
It was in a lot of ways a slasher film.
Yeah.
They get picked off one by one. They didn't need to be good. I wasn't there to see a character study. I was there to see a horror film in space. I really liked a lot of the cinematography in this film. That opening scene with the one shot. Now, the one shot thing, I almost feel like it's getting overdone.
Yeah,
I feel
totally.
Like
everyone wants a chance.
Everyone wants to do this one shot thing, and I'm not sure. This one, I was really impressed, and I thought it was cool. But I'm like, is this getting a bit tired, this technique? Have we seen this too many times? It's not really impressive anymore. I can see where he's done a little cut to stitch different camera passes together through. But as you said, a really cool element and an impressive element of this film is the casualness of the zero gravity, because they're just floating around.
Yeah, they've got that down pat now. And this is a relatively cheap movie too.
Yeah, 58 million, I believe.
Yeah, so this is the thing I mentioned to you, which afterwards, which is because we had just seen Power Rangers, I think the night before, which it has twice the budget, but looks half as bad.
Half as good?
Half as good, yeah, sorry. That's what I actually meant to say. It's half the budget, and it, as far as I'm concerned, outstrips Power Rangers by 1.5 miles.
Definitely, yeah. It's a pretty flawless looking movie.
But as I said to you, it's the nature of what they're trying to achieve with the visual effects is completely different.
Well, but the more I think about it, there's a lot of sets that they can film with Power Rangers, quarries and houses and stuff. Whereas this, almost every scene would have to have some level of CGI. I mean, it's static. You're right. It's not.
But it's realistic. When they design Zordon's ship, that takes time and effort. This is like, okay, we know what a space station looks like. Let's recreate that.
Yeah,
and it's a lot easier to achieve and make it look photorealistic.
So I think we have to talk about spoilers for this film. Just before we do, we should say if we recommend it or not. Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you are a fan of your horror films, sci-fi, you want to see something intense and visceral, and a really tight movie, a nice, punchy...
Is this a 90-minute?
90 minutes, like 100 minutes, something like that. You've seen a lot of this before. It's nothing groundbreaking and original, but it's intense, it's fun, highly recommended.
Yeah, for me, pretty much the exact same. Really enjoyed this film. It kept the intensity as far as I was concerned. I loved the character development in this. As I said, I thought they did really good development early on. Yeah, highly recommend it.
Yeah, I didn't love it, I think, as much as you guys. It's nothing really you haven't seen before. But for what is essentially, sort of a lower budget film, I think go out and see it, yeah. Or wait till it's on Netflix, even.
I think it's cool in the cinema, though.
Yeah.
There's an intensity to this film. And I agree with you. The execution is where this film is just pumping and doing a great job and being what it needs to be.
And just before we move on, I do think that space movies are really good to see in theaters. You kind of get a scope and of the size,
the epicness, and the scale.
So I recommend going out and seeing it for the experience.
All right, so spoilers. I think there's only two real notable ones. There's Ryan Reynolds' amazing death.
Oh God! So if this movie does one thing well, or exceedingly well, it is just. I know I keep saying harrowing, but it really is having harrowing death scenes. Like, these made me squirm. I did not feel comfortable in the slightest with what was going on the screen.
See, I think it was just that one. I think the movie really peaked with his death.
I would agree with that.
And then it kind of, not flatlines, but just cruises along until the ending. And there's the other spoiler, is the ending, which you see coming a mile away, but it's fantastic. It's a beautiful little Twilight Zone twist.
Yeah, his death, man. Oh, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. So when we went to see A Cure for Wellness, they played, instead of a trailer, they played a portion of that scene. And it was up until the point where the thing was snapping his fingers.
Great stuff.
But that scene keeps going.
Oh, yeah. It escalates.
Keeps going and escalating. And that whole scene kind of turns into the rest of the film. And, oh, man, Ryan Reynolds' death, God, I haven't seen anything that brutal in so long.
Yeah.
I couldn't really believe what I was seeing. And one thing that was very refreshing about this film was, as we said before, nobody knows about it. It flew under the radar. Everyone forgot about it. And it was nice to see something that I wasn't expecting.
Yeah. Well, especially having one of the major kind of Hollywood stars of a film be the first to be killed off. Like, I mean, when we looked at this, when I looked at this film originally, I looked at the cast, I had kind of picks on who was going to go first. And really, unfortunately, it was the more international characters. I'm not aware of the Russians. I don't know if she's actually Russian, or if that was just an accent of her name. But I thought it was either going to be her or Hiroyuki Sanada, who I love in pretty much anything he does. But I thought, well,
he was in Sunshine, wasn't he? He should stay away from space.
Yeah, he hasn't had an awful lot of luck in space stations.
That second death was brutal as well, with the water coolant going up into her helmet.
Yeah, so that one really bothered me. She's the captain. She should have kicked right off that ship straight away. Like, as soon as it was on her leg, she should have been out of there. Grabbed it and kicked off into space. What a terrible captain. And, like, obviously she tried to not let herself back in.
I didn't think about that.
A bit late by then. Because that scene went on for a while.
The way they did her point of view in the helmet, looking out, and the water coolant starting to fill.
Jake Gyllenhaal was great in that scene.
That was so intense.
But again, see, this was more harrowing than her actual death scene. For me, was the reactions from the characters. So again, Hiroyuki and Jake Gyllenhaal, their reactions to her death were just, I mean, probably the best acting of that film for me.
Of course, we have the very someone has a baby. They just had a baby.
Yeah,
you got to care about them now.
Yeah.
Can you guys help me out here? I couldn't understand exactly what was happening in his final scene when he tries to go to the other ship that comes up.
Yeah,
that doesn't go well. I enjoyed that.
Obviously.
But but then he's got it on him and he won't let go of her, and she's like, let go or something, and then
so this is one of the inconsistencies of this film for me. As far as I was concerned, as soon as that thing touched you, you were dead. Like you're just not getting out of it, and that's why I agree with you. As soon as that thing attacked her on the captain on the outside, she should have just pushed off. Because from what we knew of the monster, there was no conceivable way that she was going to be able to pry it off. Like it just wasn't going to happen.
That was very effective.
Yeah. So I get what you mean when you say that he had it on his leg and presumably he's done for. I think what they were going for was the fact that they thought, even though that this thing had attached to their leg, that they could still make it through. And for me, thinking about it, it kind of echoes the entire, sub conversation about this film, which is that everyone's just trying to survive. Like it's just about life and just
survival of the fittest.
I feel like they should have played with that a bit more, though. Like he should have become almost a villain in that part of the film where he was just trying to survive himself.
Yeah.
But I thought they were trying to do that, but then I couldn't, and then he just disappears. I'm like, oh.
I think a cool ending that Ashley sort of suggested to me
yes.
Was imagine if Rebecca Ferguson's character had died one earlier and it was just left with the father and Jake Gyllenhaal and he went off into space. Like how much more brutal that would have been.
And that would have been much more effective too, and you probably would have believed it more that he was going back down to Earth.
Yes.
Because he's got the kid down there.
Yeah.
He had that set up there.
Yeah, that really feels like the organic way it should have gone. Because Ashley told me the same thing.
I'm not disappointed the way that they did it, the way that kind of flowed out, but I think that would have been a very cool way or a cool avenue to explore.
One of the bits of the film that took me out a little bit and I checked out a little bit was the way the creature evolved over the course of the film. And what I loved about this film was the beginning part when they picked up this creature. It turns from this sort of single cell amoeba to a sort of plant-like creature. It felt so real, naturalistic, and Darwinian, and I believed it. I felt like this is what an alien would look like, and that's what I wanted to kind of see in Chris Nolan's Interstellar. I wanted to see them find some bacteria or some kind of single-cell amoeba, and I was like, I love where this film's going, that naturalistic way of presenting extraterrestrial life. But then, as it evolved, it turned into like this sort of flower thing, and it had a face, I was like, oh, really? Do we have to do this? Like, do we have to make it look like this evil thing? Like,
so for me, there's two things to consider when you're talking about the evolution of that creature. First of all, if you're talking about a naturalistic evolution of creatures, that is something that you would expect to see as something that's evolving, obviously, on a very quick scale. But things don't stay in that kind of single-celled or like two-armed position. Like, so it made sense to me that this thing was evolving, and you kind of got the sense that it was getting also smarter. So it makes sense that it would start to revolve or to evolve to look more like what we would consider intelligent life.
I don't buy that for a minute.
Well, I mean, that's just, if you look at kind of evolution.
If it's got a head, it means it's smarter.
Well,
I don't know, man. And like, they didn't even look like eyes. They looked like they were sort of folds that were meant to look like eyes, that they weren't actual eyes. And I was like, really, do we have to make this thing look like a head? It just,
I love creature features, and so part of me kind of wanted to see it turn into like, a movie monster. But at the same time, they set up very early on that the whole thing is muscle, the whole thing is eyes, like it doesn't need appendages or anything like that. So it really didn't need to look like a creature in that way.
Again, I think that what they mentioned is at a very early stage of its evolution. My first point is that I think that's what it would naturally evolve to be. Like, I don't think there's anything scientifically wrong
Evolution
with
isn't real.
This podcast has taken a very weird turn. But if you look at just evolution in general, And I know I'm getting a little bit into science now, but that's just, it makes sense for that to happen.
But it's a no, I don't think that, because it goes from an amoeba to a little plant thing to a squid to this flowery stingray thing.
Well, I mean, if you look at how a human starts, we start as that little, blob that doesn't resemble what we look like at all. And then, over the course of 9 months, we develop slowly into what we are now. So, I mean, again, it makes sense scientifically for that to occur like that. Anyways.
All right, everyone strap in. We got 3 more hours of this.
All right, moving on from that, I think the second thing about that is that a major theme throughout this is that this thing just wants to, it's just about survival. And the doctor or the scientist on the, I can't remember his name.
Rebecca Ferguson's character.
No, the British guy's character.
Oh yeah.
He actually, when he's lying down in the airlock, mentions it, says he's not an evil thing. It's just about survival, and he just needs to kill us to survive. That's just its purpose. And they also mention it with Rebecca's character, where she says, "I feel something really, really unscientific and irrational. I hate it." I think it makes sense for it to have a face, or kind of more recognizable as a movie monster, to contrast that, we give it hate, we kind of make it out to be this monster, but it's not. It's just a thing that is surviving and is trying to achieve life.
It was very much a monster at that point, though.
Yeah, but that's the point. It looks like a monster. We react to it like a monster, but it's not. So I think that would have been somewhat lost if we had just kept it as this
I feel like it would have worked better if it actually wasn't
agree.
a monster.
I agree. It would have worked way better if it didn't look like a monster, because that ties it in even more.
Why is it so angry?
Yeah, it's like, oh, okay, it's got a face and it looks angry, and it's got angular eyes. I don't know.
You and the angular today.
Angular.
They were sculptural. What were you saying before?
Sculptural angular.
I think people would be surprised at how ineffective it would have been to just have it as a blob, especially as it started to get bigger.
When it came out of Ryan Reynolds' body,
squid type thing.
I was on board still. Yeah. The next stage after that, that's where I checked out, and that's why I think it went against the rules that it kind of set up.
I completely agree, George, because I was watching this movie with that same thought. It's just trying to survive, and at that point, it was just this little organism that was wreaking havoc on them. I was thinking, this is great because this actually does contrast with the movie it so closely resembles, Alien, where that thing was evil, just stalking around the ship, just killing everyone because it fucking wanted to kill everyone. But then it kind of turned into that as well, unfortunately. But then it brings it all home with that awesome ending. And I think that's the real reason to recommend this movie, but you can't exactly say that. So that's why we're in spoilers.
By this point, hopefully you've already seen the film and have enjoyed the ending.
So anyway, there is one more fun fact we found out about this movie.
Or didn't find out. There's a rumor.
There's a rumor, which is completely bullshit, but it's a bit of fun. Maybe they could retroactively use it. So take it away, George.
This film is a Venom prequel. That was the rumor floating around.
It's the rumor that it's a Venom.
So this is Venom, the Spider-Man villain we're talking about here.
Yeah. I think that would have been cool. That would have been a really cool tie-in. And the example I use is movie studios using sort of these not direct sequels.
Same universe,
like your Split and Unbreakable.
Yeah.
I'm liking that concept more and more, and I hope people start to take more risks and feed these films back into each other in interesting ways.
I would be hugely disappointed if this was a prequel. I just think I like this movie as an insulated just story, and I like the way that they ended it, just kind of open-ended. I don't want to see how that plays out.
See, I honestly wouldn't mind either way. And again, this is not actually a thing. It's the writers were tapped to do the Venom movie. That's the only connection. And when they were asked about it, they were like, yes, sure, just jokingly. But I'd be fine, happy to accept this movie as its own thing. And if they try and weave it into something else, go for it. I think that'd be a really cool little thing. And it would be the best Spider-Man movie in years.
I think it would lose what made this film good for me. I don't want to see that. I think that would ruin everything.
Yeah, I think on the whole, we all had a pretty good time with this film. It's not the best thing since sliced bread, but, what is? We all love our sliced bread.
Nothing's ever going to top that. So yeah, everyone go get some sliced bread.
Yeah, don't see this film. Get sliced bread. Really treasure it.
No, guys, get some sliced bread and see this film.
Oh,
eat it during the film.
Don't do that. You will explode.
You might throw up, actually, in some sense.
We don't recommend that to anyone. Look, I really enjoyed this film. I thought it was really excellently executed. I thought it looked amazing. I loved the characters. I loved the ensemble. Everything about this film I really enjoyed.
I liked it. Characters didn't do much for me. I thought it was almost boring throughout the middle, but overall I enjoyed it and would recommend. But yeah, probably more of a Netflix movie, I'd say.
Yeah, very intense, fun, energetic. I love the direction. Some things bothered me a little bit, but to be honest, I had such a fun time with this film that the positives definitely outweighed the negatives. So what did you think of Life? Let us know in the comments section below. And next week we will be back with Lego Batman. We'll be reviewing that as well as
Ghost in the Shell.
Ghost in the Shell. We'll finally get to see whether that's good.
Please check out our Ghost in the Shell movie review. We reviewed the 1995 anime classic in preparation for this one. So subscribe to the channel. We're on iTunes. We're on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining us. Connor.
Gotcha.
Benny.
Bye.
We'll see you soon. Thanks so much. Bye.